It is now our pleasure to hear from a speaker who's not with us, neither virtually nor in person. What does that mean? He pre-recorded his Zoom talk from London, England. James Swenson, who is a contributor to the catalog, let me pause that, that you see over here and that was introduced this morning in the session, and feel free to check that out later. It is currently in print, it's coming out soon. It contains the images from this exhibition and the essays by the presenters here, as well as James. He presented, or rather contributed to that catalog, and here he is sharing with us a summary of that article. Dr. James Swenson is an associate professor of art history at Brigham Young University. His research interests include documentary photography, American photography, and the visual representation of the American West. He is the author of Picturing Migrants, The Grapes of Wrath, and New Deal photography, documentary photography, and In a Rugged Land, Ansel Adams, Dorothea Lange, and the Three Mormon Towns collaboration, 1953 to 1954. He recently co-authored Returning Home, DNA Creative Works from the Intermountain Indian School, published by the University of Arizona Press in 2021. Well, he's not here, but let's still welcome Dr. James Swenson.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be with you, even though I can't be with you in person. And I'd like to thank Jana and for this opportunity. This semester I'm teaching at the BYU Learning Center, and it does feel strange to be here in Europe and have the rest of you there in my neck of the woods. I can't wait, though, to get back, see the exhibition in the book, and I'd like to congratulate Shannon and Marta for all their hard work and efforts. I have been a fan of this project for a number of years, ever since Shannon explained it to me, told me about her ideas, and so I can say especially well done. All right, bear with me while I set up my presentation. Okay, in 1859, the American physician and essayist Oliver Wendell Holmes stated that, quote, "Men will hunt all curious, beautiful, grand objects in pursuit of the great bank of nature. The pursuit of nature, which came in the form of the rugged landscapes of the American West or the wild lands of Europe, propelled a distinctive group of male photographers to explore and document wild landscapes across the world. The work of the survey photographers has been explored in various ways, and I especially like Elizabeth Hutchinson's recent use of new materialism to help us understand this body and its creation in new ways. Today, however, I want to take this conversation in a different direction and briefly explore the survey photographer's connection to masculinity, which I explore more fully in a probably too closely titled essay in the exhibition catalog. In the later half of the 19th century, men of all types across Europe and the United States sought adventure in wild places. Stemming from Romanticism's quest for raw nature and its emphasis on personal experience, men were drawn to sublime places, from the rugged fjords of Norway to the bare rock landscapes of the arid American West. There was more, however, than the search for new places and exotic experiences. Through hardship and adventure, these men also sought to prove their masculinity. The quest for new places and manly pursuits in the latter half of the 19th century was a product of uncertain times and changing mores. Across Europe and the United States, men, particularly those who were white, wealthy, and educated, felt uneasy that the winds of modernization were eroding their positions of privilege. Immigration, the unsteady rise of industry, and the growing power and presence of women were but a few of the profound changes that challenged their status within a well-established patriarchal order. Desperate to keep control, men used privilege, power, and resources to maintain their dominance over women, minorities, and the working poor. A key component of this dominance was an emphasis on manliness, or what R.W. Connell termed a hegemonic masculinity. While there are several fluid components of this hegemony, in the 19th century, overcoming nature and challenging the unknown dangers of the frontier were seen as ways of bolstering one's masculinity. The American West was only one of several frontiers that acted as a restorative tonic for manhood. It was, as Bernard Devoto stated, a place of, quote, heroic wayfaring and the birth and fulfillment of a race, unquote. This race should be read in racial and gendered terms. Thus, for this generation of white men, the exploration of terra incognita in the American West was akin to plunging into the darkest jungle, scaling seemingly insurmountable alpine peaks, or searching out Europe's most rugged climes. In the second half of the 19th century, photography played a crucial part in the pursuit of manly exploration. According to scholar Barbara Novak, the photographers, quote, who traveled west were themselves heroes, creating their own myths by venturing out on a quest and risking their lives in alien and sometimes dangerous territory, unquote. Working in the West also linked these men to other photographers or outdoormen abroad who were leading the way in recording Europe's most difficult landscapes. Indeed, the work of Western photographers like Timothy O'Sullivan and William Henry Jackson should be seen in connection with the Ferrer brothers, who scaled the Alps, including a remarkable trip with their cameras at Mont Blanc in 1861, and the photographer Knut Knudsen, who created dramatic images of Norway throughout the 1860s and 70s using the tedious wet plate collodion process. In 1875, Jackson acknowledged that Europe's still photographers were setting the pace. He wrote, quote, their practice under every clime and imaginable circumstance must be rich with the garnered fruit of their varied experience, unquote. Yet, Jackson also professed that he and his American peers were producing work in the West that would soon surpass their foreign competitors. My short paper and the work I've done on this project focuses on those photographers that I know best, the men who worked in the American frontier, who were connected with the great surveys that went west following the Civil War. Two of these photographers, Timothy O'Sullivan and William Henry Jackson, were part of a larger discourse that centered around an evolving identity of masculinity, as is evident in their work and words, which reconfirmed and perpetuated the masculine ideal. Each of the surveys that went west faced similar obstacles. They faced challenging landscapes through which they were required to navigate and photograph. Moreover, camping for months at a time, they braved the elements, including violent storms and extremes in temperature. They hunted for their own food, and when big game like deer or elk eluded them, they ate a wild assortment of nearly everything. They also encountered Native Americans and constantly feared violent encounters. Most exchanges were innocuous, but they did explore violent confrontations with what they called bad Indians. According to William Henry Jackson, quote, when in Indian territory, keep your powder dry and watch out, unquote. Before joining the Haiti Survey in 1869, Jackson freely admitted that he was a, quote, soft-handed, white-skinned dandy from the city, unquote, but that changed through his spine-tingling adventures in the American West. In his photographs and written accounts, he frequently touted the difficulty of field work. He touted, for example, his ability to climb to Notch Mountain and record Mount of the Holy Cross, as seen here. In Yellowstone in 1871, he braved spouting geysers and a really rough alien landscape. 1 year later, he created a self-portrait showing himself crouching under a makeshift darkroom, checking a newly created glass plate negative with his assistant Charlie Campbell. Difficult under normal conditions, Jackson's process is even more remarkable when considering the fact that he performs his demanding work over a rocky precipice on a high, forlorn peak and the backside of the Teton Range. Rather than an anomaly, however, his image is emblematic of a number of survey photographs, showing the participants climbing peaks and exploring wild places. Writing for the Philadelphia Photographer in 1875, Jackson summarized his experiences in the field thus far as, quote, 6 annual seasons, wandering up and down over many a weary 1,000 miles, scaling mountains, sledding canyons, and exploring valleys in quest of the picturesque and marvelous, unquote. He went on to say, quote, camping life was not always sunshine. I had many rough experiences with both man and nature, unquote. Arguably the best and easily the most influential of the survey photographers was Timothy O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan learned to work in the field during the Civil War and later applied his skills to the West for the King and Wheeler surveys. O'Sullivan is known for his stark encounter with the inhospitable, strange West. His work was not pretty or even picturesque in the traditional sense, but seemed to match the bold beauty of hard rock and turbid terrains that could not easily be tamed or cultivated. In 1872, Harper's New Monthly Magazine published photographs from the High Rockies, which featured O'Sullivan. It is not certain whether the article was written by him or an interlocutor, but it does provide direct access to the enigmatic photographer. In the article, O'Sullivan is presented as an operator and artist who repeatedly scaled craggy ridges or descended deep into the earth, such as his experiences and incident in Virginia City, in Nevada, in which he recorded miners at work. There was no lack of checks to his manliness, which he is reported to have overcome. He was not beset by raging rivers, high mountain air with little oxygen, snow, shifting sand mounds, or the sweeping, violent cataracts of Shoshone Falls. Not even a rattlesnake-infested island at Pyramid Lake, or the unlimited number of the most voracious and particularly poisonous mosquitoes stymied him. Indeed, there was nothing in the, quote, wilderness of beauty that seemed to hinder his ability to, quote, work up his views, unquote. Possibly the most famous example of O'Sullivan's ability to capture difficult landscapes is his photograph of Karnak Ridge, a violent clash of rock found in the Trinity Range of Nevada and surrounded by the desolation of the Great Basin. Quote, the rocks present a broken outline which may be pleasing enough to the eye, but to journey over with packed mules is found laborious and difficult in the extreme, the article read. O'Sullivan's photograph does little to dispel the hazard of the site. In spite of the difficulties of working in this region, the hardy photographer insisted in an understated manner, quote, it was a pretty location to work in, and viewing there was as pleasant work as could be desired, unquote. For O'Sullivan, Jackson, and their peers in the West, including, but not examined in this paper, Carlton Watkins, A.J. Russell, and C.R. Savage, to name the most important, the West represented more than a place of work and adventure. It was a place where they could test and demonstrate their masculinity. Well before the cowboy became the exemplar of rugged outdoor masculinity, Teddy Roosevelt formulated his notion of the strenuous life in the Dakotas, or Frederick Remington began to paint, quote, men with bark on. These image makers engaged the frontier in pursuit of nature's greatest spectacles. Just like the great Nordic photographers who captured equally dramatic landscapes, these photographs confirmed an ability to overcome hardship and to help solidify manhood within the changing world. Thank you once again. And thanks to everybody.